Thanks for visiting our channel again. Following Agnetha Faltskog through her most triumphant and most difficult times. Finally prepared to speak frankly about her history, 74-year-old Agnetha sits comfortably in a dark, silent room. Her words are cautious yet courageous, and her voice, which is now gentler but still carries the same emotional clarity that made ABBA's songs come alive, unveils a secret narrative. After Agnetha's 1980 divorce from Björn Ulvaeus, fans were curious about their relationship for decades. The time has come for her to put into her own words the reasons for her tough choice. Picture this. The 70s were ABBA's, a Swedish pop sensation, heyday. They were a global sensation. It was impossible to halt ABBA's sound. Thanks to Bjorn and Benny's iconic successes and Agnetha and Annie Fried's distinctive harmonies, Agnetha and Bjorn appeared to be the perfect Swedish hit couple to admirers. However, their relationship was in shambles beneath the glistening front that fame had a way of creating. While their music gave joy to millions, Agnetha now explains that her marriage was riddled with secret suffering. Perceived from the exterior, everything appeared flawless. As they smirked for the cameras and belted out hit after hit, their chemistry was palpable. However, Agnetha now recognizes that her smile frequently concealed her discontent. As she remembers those years, her voice quivers with emotion. "It felt like I was losing myself," she says. With all his attention devoted to his job and the music, Bjorn barely gave us a second glance. Agnetha felt the pressure even when she wasn't on stage, unlike ABBA, whose meteoric rise required unwavering devotion. Juggling her responsibilities as a mother, wife, and pop singer left her feeling overwhelmed and lonely, and she longed for the support she couldn't find within her marriage. Fame altered Bjorn, as she recollects. She had fallen for a man who was once caring, encouraging, and dreaming along with her. But as ABBA reached unprecedented heights, Bjorn's obsession with success consumed him. He devoted inordinate amounts of time to production, tour organization, and song perfection. In contrast, Agnetha was completely taken aback by how intense it was. The demands of being a mother and constantly on the go were already getting to her. In her confession, she describes how he grew emotionally aloof, as if he were vanishing into his own universe where she had no place. When Agnetha felt invisible to the guy she loved, it was the worst feeling in the world. She describes how her heart broke as she pretended to smile for the cameras and appear as if their relationship was fine, but in reality, it was all a performance. Their personal lives were growing increasingly apart, even though they performed together on stage. She writes, "I wanted a partner, not just a bandmate," her words laden with the hidden anguish of decades past. Agnetha endured hardships that few could fathom, while Bjorn appeared to be already betrothed to the music in the background. She struggled with the shame that comes from being a mother while being away from her kids for extended periods of time, frequently on exhausting tours across countries. She felt their absence with each passing day, and even when she got home, she wasn't always at peace. A peaceful existence, free from the pressures of parenthood and music, was what her heart desired. But Bjorn's ambition knew no bounds, and his drive was unstoppable. ABBA meant the world to him. During these years, Agnetha says, she felt the creeping presence of loneliness. Feeling alone in the sea of adoring people, she struggled to find her place. With his head in his own fantasies, Bjorn didn't appear to be much help. Her voice is low when she says, "It's hard to explain." Her eyes are far away. "Despite being married, I often felt lonely." What was once a haven for her had become a constant reminder of her loneliness, and that wears you down. This unseen pain started to eat away at her affection for Bjorn. She elaborates by saying that violent altercations were unusually the only way their tensions were shown. Rather, it remained dormant, building with every passing day of unspoken dissatisfaction. Some little problems, including Bjorn's condescending comments, his obsession with labor, and his need to oversee every aspect, including those unrelated to music, were problematic. Agnetha felt stifled, as if she were losing her identity in both the music and the world around her. One particular incident stands out in her mind. It happened on one of those rare evenings when they were alone, unencumbered by the band and the pressures of the industry. She had shared her deepest feelings in the hopes that he would comprehend her need for harmony and tranquility. However, Bjorn, who is always pragmatic, dismissed her concerns, stating that they had to remain resilient for ABBA's sake. With her eyes watering, she recalls how it hit her like a smack in the face. It was as though nobody cared about how I felt. After years of denying herself what she needed, he was oblivious to my suffering because he was too preoccupied with his own life. At some time, Agnetha snapped. She came to the conclusion that her happiness and identity had been slipping away rather than a single spectacular moment. I recall waking up one morning and feeling. Her voice is so low that she scarcely makes a sound while she speaks. The woman who appeared in the reflection was a wreck, having poured her heart and soul into a romance that had no lasting impact. Even though it was unpleasant, that moment let me see things more clearly. Being an imitation of herself was no longer an option for her. It was excruciatingly painful to decide to go. She was aware it would break the ideal fans had of ABBA as a cohesive entity. On the other hand, Agnetha was aware that she couldn't afford to remain in a marriage that depleted her. She admits, her voice dripping with the burden of her history, that it wasn't easy, but that she knew she would lose herself entirely if she stayed. The couple's 1980 divorce announcement rocked the world and changed the dynamic within ABBA for all time. Her struggles didn't cease when she left Bjorn, but they began rawly. Agnetha entered a world where she could move away from playing the part for the cameras, liberated from the burden of the ideal Swedish couple stereotype and ABBA's legacy. But there was a cost to freedom as well. Agnetha was thrown into a disturbing quiet as the lights went out on ABBA and the band broke up. This calm brought to light all the things she had buried. She had never been so high before, but now that she was famous, the fall was terrifying. And with each new step came an overwhelming sense of isolation. Though she was the center of attention, her soul was empty and in need of a genuine connection. After ABBA broke up, life was anything from blissful for a while. The press was anxious to exploit her weaknesses and subjected her to extreme scrutiny. It seemed like the world forgot she was a human being who needed space to recover. As a result, her solitude was broken with every new song, every outing, and every relationship she attempted to develop. She chose to be alone or was forced to be alone. So she went to the countryside in Sweden, where she could hear the wind in the trees and feel the vast sky beneath her feet, providing a refuge from the stresses of the city. Far from the glitter and mayhem she had formerly known, her days grew more peaceful as she centered herself in the natural rhythms of her surroundings. It wasn't easy to find serenity, though as she retreated, the weight of her prior experiences pressed down on her, bringing up recollections of both happy and sad times, with Bjorn's face permanently associated with both. Without ABBA and Bjorn, I had to figure out who I was, she thinks. Once brimming with the excitement of fame, Agnetha's heart was now learning to beat to a more sedate life. Their once shared dream clung to her like a ghost, and she found it difficult to let go. On days when she wondered if she had made the correct choice by leaving, she knew in her heart that she could never return to the life that had almost eaten her. Piece by piece, Agnetha reconstructed herself. Her confidence blossomed with each passing year, like a long-lost companion. As a solo artist, she gave her all to her work, crafting records that told her tale and reflected her experiences. Her hauntingly beautiful voice gained new depths of tenderness and strength. Her audience felt her anguish, pride, and path because they heard it all. As she began to heal and gain new fans who could relate to her songs, her music became a reflection of her journey back to herself after years of serving others. The decisions that formerly served as an anchor for Agnetha have now been accepted, and she has reached the age of 74. Leaving Bjorn was an act of self-respect, not a loss or failure, as she now realizes. She states in a steady and confident voice that it wasn't only about leaving him. It was about reclaiming my happiness. Now she realizes that leaving her husband was more than simply a leap out of a marriage. It was a leap into her own life, a life where she could finally be herself and find the happiness, voice, and tranquility she had always craved. Agnetha has finally achieved the serenity she craved as she entered her twilight years. Despite the hardships, she is certain that her journey has offered her a deeper understanding of who she is. Instead of harboring bitterness, she possesses the wisdom that comes from a deep understanding of how life's worst challenges can ultimately lead to its most precious rewards. The strength to step away and stand as herself, fearlessly and freely, is what Agnetha now values more than the fame, the albums, or the tours. This is the legacy she now cherishes. Those who have ever felt trapped or unheard in relationships can relate to Agnetha's story as she tells it now. She insists, her voice unyielding, that you shouldn't sacrifice who you are to fulfill the dreams of another. Choosing yourself is sometimes the boldest thing you can do. Although I didn't know this for a long time.